Aloha, I'm Vice Chair Kipukai Kualiʻi, and this is Council Member DeCosta, and we're here to give you a quick recap of our council meeting for today, June 5th, Wednesday. It was a pretty short council meeting. We just had a couple of minutes, and then the one issue we had a presentation, and it was quite a long presentation, about almost 3 hours. We heard from 3 different state entities. We heard from the state DHHL. We heard from the Agribusiness Development Corporation, which is located in DBED now, and they had Kauaʻi Agricultural Association also with them. And then we also heard from a representative of DLNR, the state DLNR, from their Fire Protection Bureau or agency with Forestry and Wildlife. And they were basically all here to talk to us about fire mitigation on their lands here on Kauaʻi. So it started with DHHL, and DHHL, had a really good PowerPoint presentation. They showed up maps of their lands and what they're doing in different places, including a goat farm on the road up to Koke'e, some of their lands there, how they're putting in a new fire break in their neighborhood in Hanapepe, where they're going to be adding more houses as well. And then the fire break
community.
Yeah, Anahola, which we've had a lot of fires over the years. And then in Wailua, near the Lidgate Park and the hotel there, they work with the State Department of Transportation, and they put in these fire breaks, and they have to continue maintaining that. What more you want to add to that? The goat farm thing was kind of interesting.
No, very interesting. I liked how DHHL mentioned even the pueo owl. I spoke a little bit on how they are very cognitive when they do fire breaks, because fire breaks, you rip all the soil up and expose it, but there's no vegetation, so the fire cannot jump from one side to the next side. And the pueo owl is not like the barn owl; they nest in the ground. So anytime we have any kind of deforestation by a machine, any kind of wildfire, the pueo owl is at risk. And DHHL mentioned that on the goat farm, the pueo owl, they saw one nesting in the ground alongside the goats. So when they fire mitigate with livestock, whether it's goat, sheep, or cattle, it keeps the grass to like the size of a 6-inch carpet. Roots hold all the soil in from any kind of silt runoff, and it's a way that the fire cannot jump from one forested area to the next because the grass is so short. We also spoke with ADC. ADC mentioned, if you can look at this map right here, the pink area is the land that they are leasing to, they call it the big boy farmers, and then the green area is unleased, over 2,800 acres, especially between the Waimea Kikaha area. All the Mauka lands are not being leased, haven't been leased since 2002, since the plantations closed down, which currently they would grow sugarcane and they would graze cattle in the valleys. So some of our questions, right, Councilmember Kipukai, was
Let's finish on the goat farm stuff.
Go ahead.
So the goat farm was Cave-In Educational Goat Farm. They have 110 acres, and I think he said something like 75 goats. And I guess, with DHHL too, what you were saying too about Anahola, and you had mentioned Jeremy Makepa and all the great work he was doing there as well.
With the derelict vehicles.
The last thing about DHHL is we were saying that it's really important for them to work with the neighborhoods, with the homesteads, with the folks on the ground. And then they're working with Hawaii Wildfire Management Organization, and they're inviting the homesteaders to a summit, like a conference, I think on August 23rd. And they're hoping to get more mana'o from the neighborhoods, from the homesteads, to put together the whole plan for across the state. And okay, done with DHHL, and then on to ADC.
Actually, I'm going to cover that.
Add more DHHL.
Add more DHHL. So in the Wailua area, the Mauka area, they have a big area of over 200 to 300 acres of cattle ranch land.
Yes.
Very well maintained along the bypass road, and it's right going into Kauaʻi town actually, and it's not too far from the ocean. So zero environmental issues with cattle ranching near the ocean, and they do a good job as far as fire mitigation with the dry grasses. So good job, DHHL.
The last thing too on the DHHL land is DHHL makes the emergency bypass with the Cane Road there. So whenever there's a horrible accident on the highway and stuff and the road has to close down, the HHL has been a good partner in making that available. And they did say they're ironing out some of the final legal details to do the paperwork with that, but okay.
Okay, back to
That's
ADC.
DHL. Well, let's
Perfect.
go
You
with
ready?
ADC.
We covered enough of the
Agribusiness, yes. Development.
Back to
Corporation.
ADC. So ADC, they're saying that, the KAA is a subgroup of all the farm companies, Corteva, Hartong, Syngenta, that make up, I guess they're called the big boys, who farm most of the land and highest and best use. Well, they have over 2,868 acres that are not being used, hasn't been leased for over 22 years, and it's all this Mauka area above Waimea and Kikaha. So we were just giving them some constructed information provided from a successful DHHL livestock raising program that they have in 2 areas, one with goats, one with cattle, and hoping that ADC opens up their 2,800 plus acres to some kind of grazing mitigation to keep the fire under control between the 2 Kokea roads, which we had multiple fires over the last couple decades. They were burning out of control. Guinea grass does grow very tall, and when it falls over, it causes a bunch of dry straw on the 6 to 10 inches of the bed of the area. And then when the new rain fall and the new grass grow, the green stalks grow, but the bed of straw underneath is like a matchbox waiting to happen. So when there's a fire, we put our fire people at risk. So food sustainability was one of the areas that we spoke about, raising cattle to market weight, which is around 1,000 to 1,200 pounds, 24 to 29 months. And how cool would it be if we could incorporate some food sustainability, cattle grazing, fire mitigation, food security for our people, and put local beef into the schools for hamburger, chili, and spaghetti.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Well said. Take it
So
away with DLNR.
The primary prime presenter for ADC was their executive director, Wendy Gady.
Right.
And she's only been on the job 9 months.
But she did refer a lot of questions to Mike Fire,
She did. He was there to assist her.
employee of KA. Yeah.
And she did say that both the organizations have the primary mission of food production.
You're correct.
So we need to hold them to that. We definitely need more food produced, and we need them supporting
Well, right
our
now I
farmers
know
as much as possible.
Hartong-
You said a little something about the small farmers.
Yeah.
And,
Well, Hartong grows alfalfa. Corteva has corn, and I'm not sure what Syngenta raises, but I know we would like to see more fruits and vegetables actually to feed our people, right? And I did mention the small farmers. So there's a whole bunch of small Kikaha and Waimea farmers out there doing pigs, goats, small kind of gardens, and they don't have a lease, and they didn't have a lease because it was a plantation era, and they were just workers at the plantation who could use the land. So today they want to hold all those small farmers accountable and have leases with them. But I know an acre of land goes for about $450 plus another $150 for the acre, $400 for the water. It's almost $650 for an acre of land, and a small farmer cannot pay that. So somehow we gotta accommodate our small farmers that cannot pay that kind of exuberant cost that the big boys can pay. But, yeah.
You did ask them too about federal dollars coming to Kauaʻi for infrastructure, and they answered that a little bit over $2 million for the REPI program, which
Correct.
is a resilient environment program.
Correct.
That they're using for water infrastructure in
I believe
Manaus.
KA was the grantee of that
Manaus,
money.
yeah. All right.
All right.
And the last presenter was Michael Walker from DLNR with their fire protection, forestry and wildlife. He shared how their fighting agency is a militia style, and that they basically all have day jobs, but when called to action, they become firefighters, and they're trained according to national standards. He talked about how they are responsible for 50 miles of fire break maintenance, primarily in Kokea, and 100 acres of fuel reduction, primarily in Kekaha. He did say they have 6 automated weather info tracking stations, and that there's 40 more being added statewide, so they're looking for additional locations on Kauaʻi to add a few more automated weather info tracking stations. that's just to track the wind and the humidity and the sunlight, and every hour the data comes in.
Potential rain that's coming in.
Yeah,
the
like
rain
in
clouds.
Maui, right, wind was a big issue with the fires and all of that, so keeping track of that. Yeah, he shared a lot of good information.
And he did mention that livestock grazing does work.
He did, you asked him,
Yeah,
and he
and
confirmed that.
We confirmed it, so.
Then the last thing, we had a testifier, Nathan Myers from Kilauea, I think. He said Kualiʻi Ridge Association, and basically he was expressing concerns about how they're being required to decommission their reservoir, and that they're in the permitting process, and once they get the permit, they'll have to act within 6 months. And they really don't want to decommission the reservoir because of the value of the water, and he talked about that a lot, and how they need the water for, you know, the different users like Common Ground, Waikoloa Plantation, Ainaho Kupu o Kilauea, which is that sustainable food producing group there in Kilauea that the county supported and helped get started. So we did hear from DHHL how they may be decommissioning some of their reservoirs, but in the place they're putting in retention ponds so that they can still store water, but in a more safe way than
Smaller
the
than a
dams,
reservoir.
yeah. So hopefully Kilauea maybe can incorporate that as well. He was a young guy, pretty impressive. I'm glad that he came forward and
The youth
spoke up.
speaking out on behalf
Yeah.
of what they're interested in. That's
Yeah,
important.
and then we both basically told him to make sure he gets with the governor and the state representatives and let us know how we can support, because we can always write letters on their behalf as well.
And thank you to Hoike, channel 53. Watch 53. There'll be a good broadcast of Council Vice Chair Kipukai and myself. And thank you for tuning in today.
Yeah.
And
Aloha. See you next time.